at the forefront of politics.
Our enemy is Trump. He is the enemy. We gotta unite. If we're not a united party, we lose to Trump.
On the front lines of activism.
There's certain fights, if we don't engage, they win. This is a fundamental question of who we are.
And delivering your daily dose of comedy.
Donald Trump, when he had his physical, they had his blood pressure, and mine is higher than his. Oh. And the irony is mine is higher because of him.
From the blue wave.
We flipped. Enough seats to take control of the House. We control the House.
To 2020 and beyond. This is the Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters. Happy New Year, Thursday, January 2nd. I'm Dean Obeidallah. I am here to be your MBFF all year. It's a new year. I hope one of your resolutions, make me your MBFF. It's that simple. I'm a simple guy. 2020 is going to be a great year for us. It really is. I honestly think, sincerely, it's going to be a successful, fabulous year for everybody, except if your name is Trump. Not going to be a good year if you're Trump. But everyone else not named Trump, it's going to be a good year. A lot of things going on. I got to tell you, the focus of this show from now to November 3rd is winning. Winning this election on November 3rd. 306 days until Judgment Day, the most important election of our lives. You don't need me to explain why. We all know it. But it really is a contest between Trump's values versus American values. And we will win. You know, Mitch McConnell in 2010 had this comment to make and this promise to make, and it didn't work out. Here's clip number 2.
Our top political priority over the next 2 years should be to deny President Obama a second term.
Well, that was his priority. He didn't succeed at that, but he did succeed at blocking President Obama in everything from legislation to judges to, of course, the Supreme Court justice opening when Antonio Scalia died and Merrick Garland was nominated. They did nothing. But we can win this election, and it doesn't take the help of anyone. It's all upon us. We have all the power to do this. And I say, just look at 2018 for any kind of, if you have any question in the back of your mind, can we really beat Trump? Because Trump wants you to think he's all powerful, unbeatable. He's the Wizard of Oz. He's a fraud like the Wizard of Oz, but he's not unbeatable. 2016, Hillary Clinton wins the national vote by 3 million votes. We all know that. Flash forward, 2018, midterm election. Trump is out there almost every night, some nights doing 2 rallies to get the GOP base out for the 2018 election. What happens? Not only do we win the House back and take 40 seats, the margin of victory, total number of people voting Democrat versus Republican, 2016, 3 million. What was it in 2018? 10 million. That is the biggest margin of victory of the popular vote in a midterm congressional election in the history of midterms. That's how much we came out. And believe me, they were out there. They were engaged. Trump was out there all the time. There is so much more of us than them. And 2020, we're going to show that. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take a lot of work, maybe more work than you ever put in a campaign in your life. Some of you have worked hard, so maybe not everyone, but a lot of us. It's going to be a lot of work, a lot of time, effort. As we get closer to election times and primaries, we'll talk about registering to vote deadlines and voter ID laws. But it's going to take a lot of work, engaging, being an ambassador for whoever our Democratic nominee is, whoever she or he may be, uniting around them, and then getting out there and helping sell them to our fellow Americans, to your neighbors, your friends who don't follow politics that closely. We don't know who the nominee will be. We are exactly 1 month and 1 day from the Iowa caucus, February 3rd. The first caucus. A week later becomes New Hampshire. After that, in about 5 weeks from now, I would imagine a few more candidates will drop out. Today, unfortunately, Julian Castro, who I liked a great deal, who'd been on the show many times, who I also interviewed one-on-one at the ISNA convention during the summer, the Muslim convention. Really good guy, a compassionate, thoughtful person, pushing to make this country more embracive of differences. And it's unfortunately he dropped out today. He suspended his campaign. I want to play about a minute from his announcement today. And I really like this part. Here's clip number 1, please, Nina.
But with only a month until the Iowa caucuses, and given the circumstances of this campaign season, I've determined that it simply isn't our time. So today it's with a heavy heart and with profound gratitude that I will suspend my campaign for president. I'm so thankful to all of our supporters, the folks who knocked doors, made phone calls, donated, or told their friends and family about our bold vision to put people first. I'm not done fighting. I'll keep working towards a nation where everyone counts, a nation where everyone can get a good job, good health care, and a decent place to live, where each of our children can walk across the graduation stage, where kids like Trayvon can walk across their neighborhood in peace, and where Oscar and Valeria can walk to refuge. To all who have been inspired by our campaign, especially our young people, keep reaching for your dreams and keep fighting for what you believe in. Ganaremos un día.
And the Spanish expression at the end, he said, one day we will win. And that day is going to be November 3rd. It's all up to us. It really is. If you check out, we lose. If you stay engaged, you get your friends engaged, we win. And I think we can win so big, we can win the Senate back if all goes well. It will take a lot of work. It's also going to take not just our candidates, but all of us to be ambassadors, to talk about the issues in a knowledgeable, informed way, to cut through the gaslighting and BS of Donald Trump. And an issue I talked about a week and a half ago during the holidays, and we worked most of the holidays, and I wanted to revisit today. Because I think this is the key issue for Democrats to take the fight to Donald Trump and stop ceding the battlefield and allowing Donald Trump to gaslight America, paint a picture that's not true for most Americans, because he will win if this goes unchallenged. And I'm talking about the economy. Donald Trump has said over and over, quote, "It's the greatest economy we've had in the history of our country," close quote. That's Trump's words. He believes he has created the greatest economy in the history of our country. Now, to be fair to Donald Trump's golf buddies at his private country club are doing fabulous. To be blunt, the wealthy are doing very well. It's not just a talking point. That is statistically correct. In fact, the GOP tax cut, according to PoliticoFact, the 80% of the benefits of that ultimately will go to the top 1%. That's how it's going to work out, because the little crumbs that we get, the rest of us are all going to expire, but the wealthy tax cuts are going to continue. You know, we live in an economy right now where many people are working 2 jobs, 3 jobs to get by. Wages are essentially flat, and layoffs are on the uptick. And it's time the 2020 Democrats make the case, because Donald Trump is trying to make it seem that this economy is perfect. It's the greatest economy ever. And no one's going to speak out against it because they see things like the stock market breaking records. And I think this and healthcare, and in healthcare we've covered a great deal. And so is a lot of the Democrats. I think the economy has not. And I want to go through some of the statistics out there in one place for everyone. If you have any questions, I also wrote about it for the Daily Beast. You can check out my article. It's up today. It's published today. It's on Twitter at Dino Obeidallah or Facebook.com/Dino Radio. And check out the article. All the statistics in it are accurate. They're fact-checked. In fact, most of them, to be blunt, are from the Trump administration. They're the numbers they've given us. And they don't help Donald Trump. Now, some Democrats have talked about the economy, either in passing, or people like Liz Warren and Bernie Sanders have made it more of their focal point. I think that Democrats in unison need to make the issue of a struggling economy for so many millions of Americans a bigger issue. I think the sense that many Americans have now who have struggled before and are continue to struggle is that this is as good as it gets. You don't have to give in to that. It can be better. And as opposed to Republicans who use government to give a tax cut to the wealthy, the government can play a role in making your life better, making the life of the middle class, working class, and those trying to make it to the upper middle class better. And the fact that Democrats are not pushing hard on Donald Trump's gaslighting the economy, it reminds me so much in 2010 of the debate around Obamacare. At the time, just when it was getting passed, the Republicans out there were saying it was the worst thing since the bubonic plague. Remember death panels? That was their big lie, death panels. Literally, you're going to die from the ACA. What happened? Democrats were almost silent in defending it. President Obama was doing his best here or there, but even he was a little bit timid in defending his own plan because it had not been implemented yet. So the Republicans were using their lie machine out there. The lies were not being corrected. What happened? 2010 midterm, Democrats get decimated. They lose control of the House. That brings us Speaker John Boehner. Everyone remembers that. It wasn't until 2017 when the ACA, Obamacare, finally had a positive view by the average American. What caused that? Republicans trying to take it away, and Americans understanding, after years of having it, the benefits of Obamacare. Right now, Trump is in federal court trying to end all those benefits of the ACA, including covering you and your family for pre-existing medical conditions. He's in court right now, folks. Literally, his DOJ is fighting to end every single part of the ACA. That's another issue. But my point is, it's instructive. That whole debate around the ACA, where Democrats did not join it, they did not engage, they did not fight back, the result was the ACA was defined horribly. Right now, the flip side. Because of Trump out there every day tweeting stock market broke records, economy is the greatest ever, it's defining as the economy is truly the best it could ever be. And that you're some kind of crazy person for saying it's not going well. That's not the truth. The facts are the facts. The reality is Donald Trump has no idea how struggling Americans are. Do you think Trump hangs out with working class Americans? I mean, seriously. Do you think he knows people who shower after work? Think he's friends with any of them? Look at Donald Trump's cabinet. Out of 23 people, 20 are millionaires or a billionaire. In the case of Wilbur Ross, he literally is surrounded by millionaires. That's his life. From his son-in-law, to his daughter, to his private country club friends, to his cabinet. He has no clue about the struggles of an American. Do you think Donald Trump knows that 4 out of 10 American adults can't afford to pay an unexpected $400 expense? That's the truth. 4 out of 10 adults cannot afford an unexpected $400 expense. Where is that from? And I'm going to give you all the information where it's from so you know these are all credible sources. That's from a study by the Federal Reserve. And Donald Trump promised every household, literally $4,000 a household. Everyone's going to get $4,000 for his tax cut. How many of you have seen that $4,000? I imagine some have, but the way it breaks down, most are not. The wealthy are seeing it. Again, 80% ultimately of the tax cut will benefit the top 1%. As the Congressional Research Service, which is nonpartisan, recently put in a study, Trump's tax cut resulted in corporate profits that grew faster than wages. And worse, quote, ordinary workers have very little growth in wage rates as a result of the tax cut. The real world result in 2019 is Trump will tout, oh my God, wages grew 3%. 3%. They love to say that 3% number like it's remarkable. The reality is inflation was 1.9%, meaning the average worker saw a raise of 1%. And he's saying it's the greatest economy ever. Is a 1% raise the greatest economy? Really, is that the best you've done? I mean, do you think Trump knows or even cares that truckers are struggling? I've talked to countless truckers on this show, have called the show and talked about it. Having less loads to carry. Trucking companies that have closed down. And it's not anecdotal, folks. It's been quantified here. I just read an article in Business Insider, which you can see in my article. I quote and link to it. In 2019, they say the trucking industry has had a bloodbath. That's their word. You want to know why? 640 trucking companies, 640 closed down in the first 3 quarters of this year. In 2018, only about 200 closed the entire year. A triple of the number of trucking companies have closed this last year than 2018. Over 25,000 truckers are now off the road. And there might be other companies that are out of business they don't know yet, didn't make that report because it was from about 3 months ago. You think he cares? No. What about our nation's farmers, folks? How do you think they're doing? For the 12-month period, from September 2018 to 2019, bankruptcy filings by farmers in this country are up 24%. 24% to the highest level since 2011. That was in the recession. That's what's going on with the farmers. You want to know something even more heartbreaking? And this is so painful. And again, it's cited in my article. You can see the link. Even worse, there's been a spike in suicides by farmers who've lost family farms that have been in their families for generations, and they've lost them, and they've taken their own life. You think Trump cares? Do you think Trump cares that our manufacturing sector, the entire manufacturing sector, is officially in a recession and becoming worse by the month? In November, because we don't have the new December numbers yet, we're going to get them tomorrow. In November, new manufacturing orders and employment dropped in the manufacturing sector for the 4th straight month in a row. The manufacturing section is contracting. Trump pledged he would make manufacturing great. He is not. It is not there. And Trump loves to talk about the stock market. Here's the reality, and please share this with friends who, when they talk to you, stock market's doing so great. Yes, it is. It is breaking records. There's no disputing that. Look at the Dow Jones. The question is, what percentage of Americans own stocks? And where is that weighted in terms of wealth? Well, in reality, about 53% of Americans own stocks. Of that, 84% of the stocks owned in this country, folks, are owned by the wealthiest 10% of households. So when you hear the stock market hitting records, remember, only about 50% of Americans own stocks, and 85% of that, 84% of all those stocks are owned by the top 10% wealthy in the country, meaning the rest own like one stock, or they have some money in a mutual fund, or their 401ks in a mutual fund. But the wealthy are getting wealthier. Donald Trump's golf buddies are doing great. So of course Trump thinks the economy is the greatest ever. He's surrounded by millionaires and billionaires at an exclusive country club. And overall, and the Democrats got to make this an issue, Donald Trump promised in 2017 that the economy would grow by 4, 5, maybe even 6%, close quote. His exact quote. The economy is going to grow by 4, 5, and maybe 6% a year. Where are we? We're not even what Obama had. President Obama in 2014, we had 5% economic growth in one quarter, followed by 4.9%. Where are we now? We have the greatest economy ever. So it's got to be better than Obama's 5%, right? Nope. We are trending downwards. Last quarter, barely 2% growth. Down from last year of 3%. See, the point is we are trending downwards. And that's why Trump's desperation and tweeting all the time, the economy's great, economy's great, economy's great. Things are they're slowing down. And I am not rooting for a recession. I've always said that. That hurts too many vulnerable people. And there's a few other things to look at. If the economy is so great, as Trump says, the greatest ever, then you would think more Americans would be working today on a percentage basis than when Trump took office. Like vastly more. When Trump took office, a thing called labor participation rate, which measures how many people are working or looking for a job. When Trump took office, January 2017, what was it? 62.9%. So 62.9% of Americans were working or actively looking for a job. Where's it 3 years later? Is it at 65%, 67, 70%? No. It went from 62.9% to 63.3%. Not even a half a percentage increase. During the campaign, when the labor participation rate was that high, Trump was talking, literally calling it 40% unemployment in America. Do you remember that during the campaign? He's like, unemployment. I've seen numbers where it says 40%. He was using these exact numbers, this number of labor participation, around 63%. And he called it 40% unemployment. There's a bubble. There's an economic bubble that's right there. There's a disconnect between the wealthy and the middle class and lower class. There's no doubt, no disputing that. And I think we're getting to the point where more Americans are going to see it. Because in the last few weeks, alarmingly, there's been an increase in the number of companies announcing layoffs, forward-looking layoffs. U.S. Steel plant in Michigan is going to close. 1,500 jobs gone. Morgan Stanley, banking company, just announced cutting 2% of its bank total workforce because of economic uncertainty. Halliburton, Oklahoma, laying off 800 people. In fact, unemployment in key swing states like Michigan and Wisconsin are up from a year ago. Look, this is not a political game. This is real life. Trump can gaslight on BS issues. It doesn't matter. It upsets us. We call it out. So be it. There are people in this country who are struggling, who are suffering. And Donald Trump doesn't care about them because it disturbs the narrative that he wants. They are literally an inconvenient truth for Donald Trump's narrative that he's made this economy the best ever in the history of the world. It's good for some. In fact, the best case I see for Trump, and it actually really undermines him on another level, Fox News 2 weeks ago did a poll. Are you and your family better off today than you were 4 years ago? And that's an economic question. Everyone understands that. What percentage of Americans do you think in a Fox News poll, and they actually have good methodology, by the way, so even Fox News does it, actually is a good poll. What percentage of Americans you think today say they're better off economically than they were 4 years ago? 34%. 66% of Americans say they're either the same or doing worse. So this bubble, this disconnect, it makes sense that a third of America is doing better because the top 10% of American households own 80% of the stocks. You've got that. Tax cuts helping them. Wage growth did not trickle down like Trump promised. It got stuck in the boardroom with corporations who use that money instead of investing in their employees to do stock buybacks that raise stock prices because corporate compensation for these executives is often tied to stock prices. Look, it sounds like a cliche talking point to say the wealthy have gotten wealthier and the poor stay the same or get worse in the middle class. It's absolutely true. This is the world we live in right now. There's no disputing it. The facts are very clear. You can look at the facts from the Trump administration. Income inequality is worse today. So I think the Democrats have to call this out every single day because it is insulting to people who are struggling for Donald Trump to say the economy is the best it's ever been. Meanwhile, they have 2 jobs and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. What's so interesting, President Obama, when he was running for re-election in 2012, would not go around and brag about the economy, even though it improved so much from the time he took over. Why? Because, and this came out, you can Google it, it's all open source reporting, he said that he did not want to be offensive or insulting to those people still struggling. He didn't want them to think he didn't care about them. Trump could not be more clear. Trump hangs out with the wealthy, plays golf with the wealthy, hangs out at private country clubs. His cabinet are millionaires and billionaires. And you have truckers, farmers, manufacturing section, all struggling. Wage growth about 1% net. And this is from the Trump administration. These are their numbers. 3% wage growth, 1.9% inflation. That's their numbers. Net 1.1% raise. And that's the best you're going to get. Now, look, Democrats have to do 2 things. One is call it out very clearly. To push back on Trump's narrative, the economy is great. It is great for the wealthy. He is right. They're doing fabulous. I do not deny that in any way. But the middle class and lower class are not doing well. They're not thriving. They're surviving. And I think then the Democrats must go further and articulate policies that are going to work. Raising the minimum wage, that's one thing for wage growth. Investing in the education system is another way to help people, to give them the tools to get better jobs. If they can't afford to go to college or trade school or vocational school, making sure we have federal programs that can be there for them. There's a list of things they can do, from Department of Labor regulations to ensure that people get overtime if you work over 40 hours. But the Democrats ceding this issue to Donald Trump is deadly. We have to win this election. We should win this election. It is up to us. We have all the power in our hands. Like a football team sometimes need another team to help them make the playoffs. They got to beat some other team or something. No, we control our own destiny here. We completely control our destiny. And it's going to be getting out there and sharing this. The Democratic candidates won't do it, or they might be doing it, but the media is not picking it up. It's up to us. I've said many times, we are the leaders we've been waiting for. It is up to us. We're the grassroots. We lead this. Go, when you're talking to your friends and they're Trumpers and they brag about the stock market going so well, ask them, do you know what percentage owns 85% of the stocks? Tell them the top 10% of all Americans. So yes, they're doing great. There's no denying the top 10% are doing great. I can't deny that. Not playing games. Give me your real numbers. Ask them about wage growth. What's the average wage growth? 1.1%. That's Trump's numbers. Labor participation rate. Why are not more Americans working? Why is manufacturing sector of our economy in a recession? Why are trucking companies closing 3 times last year than the year before? 3 times. Why are farmers 25% more filings of bankruptcy in the last year? Why are farmers committing suicide at a higher rate when losing their farms? This is the real world. Donald Trump is he's gaslighting in the economy like he gaslights in every other issue. And it's up to us and the 2020 Democrats. Because I'm tired of getting tired at the DNC. I'm tired of getting tired at the media. I'm tired of being tired of 2020 Democrats and waiting for someone to rise to save us. We are the ones that have to save us. We did it in 2018. That was all a grassroots movement. We can do it in 2020. So I wanted to start the year talking about what I think is the top issue with healthcare. I've covered healthcare so much. We all know healthcare. Democrats pushing back on healthcare really well. This is the issue. They're not. Up to us. We got to do it, my friends. So, and by the way, in response to this article, I'm getting, and it sums up Trumpers so well, I'm getting emails from Trumpers. And I usually get hate mail. That's fine. These are a little different. Some say I'm an idiot and that kind of stuff. I get that. That's fine. But they'll say things like, My family got $5,000. Ignoring the farmers who are suffering, ignoring the truckers who are struggling, ignoring everybody in the manufacturing sector who are struggling. As long as they got theirs, that's all that matters. It's such a sad reality. It's such a commentary on the Trump selfishness and cruelty, because I've always said Trump's about cruelty. He's also about selfishness. And it shows in these emails where they're citing one statistic to attack me, where I say Trump promised $4,000 a household. And they'll go, well, I got my $4,000. Well, you got yours, right? What about your neighbor? What about the person down the street? They're not getting theirs. And that's the world we live in, my friend. So I'd love to hear what you think about the economy. Is it an issue Democrats should be taking the fight to Trump? And what other issues? If the economy is not, I'm not going to fight you on it. If you're going to tell me the economy is not the winner, what's the issue that is the winner? Because we want to win. We're all about winning. What's the issue to win on if it's not the economy? Give me a call. First show of the year. Love to hear from you. 866-997-4748 right here on the Dino Dollar Show. At this point, the question is not who